First and foremost, when I'm in a large class, I'm a lecturer. There's no way to get the content out without lecturing. I try to do it with a lot of energy, a lot of enthusiasm. I try to let people know how much I enjoy the material.
What is a theory? You've heard me say this many times before, that a theory is just an explanation for something that we observe. So developmental scientists develop theories to explain developmental phenomenon that they observe.
I'm a storyteller. That's how I think of it. I tell stories, I give examples, I illustrate points, I use real life examples, I use what's in the news, I use what's in the newspapers to illustrate the issues that I'm talking about whenever possible. And I'm having a conversation with students when I'm lecturing or in the classroom as well. I'm not having a conversation that they and I are talking back and forth with one another, but I'm talking with them, asking them to relate it to their lives, getting them to sort of have an internal dialogue with me. And I'm trying to get them involved, and I'm trying to let them know that I'm interested in teaching. I think it's a way of communicating my interest in being in the classroom, too.
All stage theories are based upon the epigenetic principle. Just by way of review, what is that term, epigenetic? What is that epigenetic principle? You've heard me say it so many times. What would you say it is? Right. So the developments that occur in earlier stages set the foundation for later stages.
Every class I do has a beginning, a middle, and an end. I try to have a complete, coherent class each time. I choose to teach in 50-minute class schedules for that reason. I find that my energy level is good for 50 minutes. I find the students' attention span is good for 50 minutes. And so I'm very organized. I've visualized exactly what I want to accomplish in that 50 minutes, and I try to connect all the dots over that period of time. Never want things carrying over, if at all possible.
What Erickson hypothesizes is that the different psychosocial stages are accompanied by stage-specific sources of anxiety that the individual needs to master. Each of the stages is accompanied by stage-specific sources of anxiety, and he labels those sources of anxiety. He conceives of those anxieties that are specific to the stages as a psychosocial crisis. So the crisis is the result of the anxiety that individuals experience during a particular period of time. The crisis is the result of the anxieties that the individual experiences during a particular stage.
Diversity in terms of learning styles is something I've given some thought to. I put an outline on the board. The outline is for people that are more visual in their focus. I repeat myself or my main points a lot. I think that's redundancy is important in communicating the main points. I tell students right from the beginning that whenever they hear me or any instructor using an example, that they better pay attention to that and highlight that, because I'm only giving examples or doing my storytelling because it's something I think is important. So I set up some ground rules right from the beginning, give them some sense of my style right from the beginning that helps people with different learning styles, I think, plug in.
If the crisis is the result of social expectations and demands that generate anxiety within the individual, what would you say are the social expectations and demands during adolescence that generate anxieties within adolescence? Do you know what I'm asking? What are the social expectations and demands that occur during adolescence that generate anxiety?
I think that students enjoy the class. I think they relate well to it. I think they like the style of my teaching. I'm very active. There's a lot of energy. The lecturing is high energy. They like the stories. They always mention them. They like the fact that it relates to their lives. It's very rewarding when students love the material. It's very rewarding when students decide to become a major based on their experiences in a class. It's a great experience when you help students clarify their own values about what they're educationally and professionally interested in. It's a great experience to help them be better able to understand themselves.
Mutuality is the caregiver committing him or herself to understanding what the infant needs and then responding appropriately to reduce the infant's anxiety.
Well, I don't use a lot of technology, but I do use email, or I encourage students to contact me by email. I encourage them to bring their questions to me by email, and I enjoy having those kinds of threaded discussions with them.
Coordination, matching, synchrony, communication, repairs. All of these terms are meant to basically capture a process where the caregiver tries to figure out what it is that the infant's sources of anxiety are, tries to figure out how to match their behavior to the infant's needs, get in sync with the infant, and be responsive to them.
I would give faculty the advice of only talking about the things they're most interested in, finding what's interesting to them in the content and focusing in on that. I know that seems difficult, but you have to do it. I'd encourage them to figure out a way to have a good time themselves while they're in there, that if they're enjoying themselves, the students are more than likely enjoying the class.
So some of you are interested in being teachers, for example. Teachers deal with kids when they're anxious, and when you help kids deal with those anxieties, you're helping to restore a foundation of trust or reinforce a foundation of trust that may or may not have been there as a result of experiences in their family.
I think it's important to be very focused, be very clear about what you want to accomplish, set modest goals for each lecture, and have fun.